BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, it's Gary Lineker here. You know the drill with these by now. Don't expect your usual match of the day analysis. And we might have to get the bleep machine out from time to time when the boys get overexcited. Thanks for listening. Welcome to Match of the Day Top 10. Once again with Alan Shearer and Ian Wright still at home. Now you can play golf, practicing a bit in the garden?
No, yeah, a little bit, but I got in trouble the other day because I took out some divots because I'm a little bit rusty. So Nance weren't happy with that.
That's just normal, isn't it, right? You taking
But it's
divots?
not normal, so no, it's not normal. No, it's not normal. So just shush.
You're
I don't know why
supposed to
you
take
jump in
divots,
so-
aren't you, if you're using an iron?
Yeah, but
The trouble is when you're using your driver and you're taking
Not
divots,
with his
that's when
driver,
you're in
yeah.
trouble.
not when you're striking oil in your own garden. That's a bit too deep. I'm really bad at the moment. I can't wait to get out there.
What about you, Alan?
Yeah, I've just booked a tea time as well. So for myself and my son, I've booked a tea time. So looking forward to getting a bit of golf in again.
Well, this week we should have been looking forward to the FA Cup final. Sadly, that's not currently taking place, of course. So what we've decided to do is look back and make our top 10 this week, the top 10 FA Cup moments. There are a lot of them because the FA Cup's been going over a long period of time, but we finally came up after much disagreement with our top 10 in no particular order. They are the Ryan Giggs semi-final moment in 1999, of course, that wonderful goal. Steven Gerrard's late equaliser in the 2006 final, Liverpool against West Ham. The Wimbledon Crazy Gang beating Liverpool in 1988. Ricky Villa's final, 1981, the FA Cup replay where he scored 2 goals and obviously that outstanding winner. Gazza's North London derby free kick in 1991, the first ever FA Cup semi-final to be played at Wembley. Crystal Palace's run to the final in 1990. Glad all over. Pardew winner in the semi-final against Liverpool. Wrighty injured but came on heroically and scored in extra time. He scored in normal time and extra time in the final. And they drew and went on to the replay. I doubt you'll mention that one. Ben Watson's winner in the 2013 final for Wigan against Manchester City. The Mickey Thomas free kick, we've seen that a few times over the year. 1992, Wrexham against Arsenal, that giant killing. Ronnie Radford, of course, has to feature. 1972, that was, Hereford versus Newcastle. And Sunderland's Cup upset when they beat Leeds in 1973. Jim Montgomery's double save, I recall. Before we get into that list, a quick apology to the older generation. We've decided on this one, because there are so many, to limit it to things that happened in our lifetimes, memories. So apologies to Stanley Matthews and Stan Mortensen and Bert Troutman, etc. So it's the way it is. Before we get into the lists, what about the earliest FA Cup memories that both of you have got?
Should we just get the piss taken out of the way now with the FA Cup? When's it going to happen? When are you going to mention it?
Alan, don't ruin it.
All right. No, I thought you would,
Just chill, man.
Just get it out of the way now.
Yeah.
Don't be like that, Al. Come on. Don't be like that. My first moment, because the FA Cup was the world. It meant the whole world. It was the last game of the season. It's always sunny. The kits were new. The boots are lovely. You can hear the studs in that tunnel, the brilliant white tunnel. Why they got rid of that tunnel. And I remember my first one was the one where I think it was Leeds played. And I think it was Mick Jones crossed it to Alan Clark, who diving headed it. But when he crossed it, he broke his arm or something.
Yeah.
And he played the rest of the... Yeah. That's one of the really main first ones I remember was that one. And ever since that day, I wanted to play in it.
My earliest FA Cup memories were, I like every other kid in my street, and I suspect in the country, I couldn't wait to get up on the Saturday morning and turn the TV on at 9 or 8 o'clock, whatever it was. And there was a build-up that lasted all day. My first one was Arsenal Man United 79 FA Cup final. Great memory. So many goals in the last 5 minutes of the game. Arsenal 2-up, Man United coming back to 2-2 all, and then Alan Sunderland it was, getting that late winner in that yellow Arsenal kit, scoring at the far post. So that was one of my earliest memories. I was 8-year-old when that final was on. So yeah, great days, and couldn't wait to watch that FA Cup final, or any FA Cup final.
My first memory, I went to the FA Cup final with my dad and my granddad when I was 8 years old to watch Leicester play against Manchester City, 1969 FA Cup final, and Leicester lost 1-0. And Neil Young scored. The main thing I remember is being on the train on the way home. I cried all the way home. And it was kind of such a sad memory, but at least I went. At least I went to see a final, and obviously, well, we all played in FA Cup finals eventually, and two of us won them. So you played. No, on a serious question, though, Alan. To back-to-back FA Cup finals that you played in, not to win those must have been hellish.
Well, it does rather piss me off when I hear people turn around and say it's great to play in an FA Cup final. Let me tell you, is it? It is only great to play in an FA Cup final if you win it.
I agree with that.
It's great playing in the semi-finals when you win them. They're great occasions. FA Cup finals are only great if you win them. And I got to two, as you know, 98 and 99, and it just wasn't our day. We playing against a very good Arsenal team, didn't really turn up. Played against a very good United team, of course, 99 when they went on to win the treble. So it just wasn't to be. But they're not great occasions when you don't win, I promise you.
You couldn't do any more getting there, right? Come on. You couldn't do any more.
Well, it's all right getting there, but you've got to get there and win it, righty, as you well know.
Yeah, I do, to be honest, now, twice. But the thing is, Al, all that aside, I found the semi-finals more nerve-wracking than the actual final. I was petrified in the semi-final. Yeah, my legs were like jelly in the semi-finals, what I played.
Really?
I was more afraid of the always afraid of the semi-finals, because you're one step away from, for me, especially when, like I said, with the Palace, I didn't even play, so I wasn't able to have any influence on it. I was absolutely, I never slept for 2 nights, thinking, are we going to do it?
I was lucky enough to play in 4 of them. We won 2 at Old Trafford, and then lost the other 2, once at Wembley against Chelsea, and the other one against Man United in Cardiff when Wembley was being rebuilt. But I do remember the Newcastle fans at Old Trafford. I mean, the noise that day when we won in those games, one against Sheffield United and one against Tottenham, it's incredible from the Newcastle fans.
Al, did you cry, Al, when you lost? Did you cry?
No, I didn't. I didn't cry, no, but I was rather disappointed, righty.
When's the last time you cried, Al? Because I don't see you crying after a football match.
Crying, laughing at you.
He's not
You must have cried at one stage. You must have cried at some stage after.
I felt like crying when I was in the FA Cup finals. Let me tell you.
Was it one of those finals that Lee Clark went to in the Mackham shirt?
Yeah, that was 1999 when he was playing for Sunderland. Most people will know that Lee Clark's a Newcastle supporter, so he travelled down to Wembley, had a few drinks too many, and decided to wear a T-shirt with sad Mackham on, which is not rather wise while you're playing for the football club. Someone took a picture of Lee, and then a few days later it got published in the newspaper, and he tells a great story when he got the phone call off Peter Reid, who was manager of Sunderland at the time, to say, "What the f*** are you doing, by the way?" He then got another call to go into the stadium off the chairman, Bob Murray, I think it was at the time, and I think he knew his time was about to be up. So he went into the boardroom, and Bob Murray said, "We've got no choice. We have to sell you. There is no future here after what you've just done. We've agreed a fee with Fulham." And Lee, being Lee, said, "Okay, I understand." And just as he was walking out of the boardroom, he turned around and said to Bob Murray, "But is there any chance you can pay me up?"
Great stuff. Great stuff. Right, Ian, give me your 10 to 6 of best FA Cup moments, please.
Okay, so 10, Wrexham against Arsenal. Mickey Thomas, great day for Wrexham. Don't get me wrong, but I can't say I weren't playing. End of story. 9. I'm gonna go with Radford, because anything to do with the FA Cup. Once the FA Cup's going, you have to see that goal. And I go 8 with Spurs, 81 Ricky Villa's goal, because it was just an amazing moment in the replay. I'm gonna go 7 Sunderland. I love that final. Ian Porterfield and Jim Montgomery's 2 saves, unbelievable. And I'm going to go 6 Gazza's goal in the semi-final.
Let's start with your 10th pick. That's Wrexham, Mickey Thomas free kick, the equaliser.
Yeah.
92nd in the league tables, playing against the champions. Obviously, you weren't on the pitch, though, were you, Ian? But you were at Arsenal.
No, I was injured for that particular game. But I have to say, it was one of those cup ties where, you know, as low as they were, like you say, 92nd, that particular day, they had everything. They played like a team that was in the same league. They matched us for everything. Mickey Thomas was good on the day. He's brilliant on the day. We tell with his free kick. But I remember Jimmy Carter scored a perfectly good goal in that game. And it was one of those games where, as I was watching it, I always thought that we had so much quality on the pitch that at some stage we'll get something back. And then if it goes to a replay, I was thinking, if it goes to a replay, I'm going to be playing. And then hopefully we can finish it off. But Mickey, like I said, Jimmy Carter scored a goal. It weren't given, and it was just one of those days. Yeah. But on the actual day, they just played very, very well. They were just brilliant. They'd done everything you have to do.
You were Arsenal were 1-0 up, weren't you? With about 7 or 8 minutes to go, you were winning 1-0 Arsenal, eh?
Yeah. We're winning. And the thing about it is, while you're watching it in the stands, you just watch it and you got the vibe that, you know something, we're going to need another one. It just wasn't quite going right. Their energy was brilliant. You know when you feel that your fitness and your superior skills going to wear them down? Didn't happen. They kept coming. Mickey Thomas obviously scores this fantastic strike. It's an amazing strike. And then I can't remember the name of the fellow who scored, I can't remember his name. He scored a little one that just kind of like rolled into the net, and that was it. It was horrible.
Even Watkin it was.
That's the guy. Yeah. That's the guy.
Yeah, good memory, Alan. What's the worst upset you've been part of, either in the team or in the squad, Alan?
No, I can't remember too many upsets that I played in. I remember Newcastle Stevenage got a bit nasty home and away when I was at Newcastle. That Stevenage game was my first game back when we played away from my ankle injury, I think it was, and I'd been out for 7 or 8 months, and I just remember I couldn't wait for the game to get back and playing, because it had been so long out, and scored after 5 minutes. But we didn't have it all our own way, and they gave as good as they got, Stevenage. So that in terms of upsets, I can't remember them being that too many that I've played in. I think in terms of that Mickey Thomas, although it's a great FA Cup moment, I wouldn't necessarily have that in my top 10 if we were given a choice, which we haven't been. I would have perhaps had Southampton's victory over Man United 76. In 1976, with Bobby Stokes scoring that goal.
Yeah. I actually played in the game can you remember Harlow Town beating Leicester City in a replay? I was just breaking through at that point into the team. I was 19 or something. And the first game was played at Filbert Street, and it was drawn, and we had a replay away at Harlow Town. And I'd hardly played at that stage, only a handful of games. And we had Jock Wallace as a manager, who was a terrifying bloke at the best of times, 6'4", big Scottish, former goalkeeper, managed Rangers, but frightening bloke. And I was terrified of him. And then we went to the replay, and I was in the squad, and we went up there, and I had tonsillitis, I felt, and it was getting worse and worse. But I daren't tell him. I just daren't tell him, and I was shaking, and I had fever and everything. Felt really rough. And then he read the team out, and he went on number 7, playing on wide right. It's Gary Lineker, and I went, and I still never had the nerve to tell him. And I just went out and played, and I felt absolutely awful. And we ended up losing as well, so it wasn't great. I got the hook, I think, in the second half, if I remember rightly. But anyway, I'm over it now. So, Ronnie Radford. I think the thing that strikes me about that, apart from the magnificence of the goal, is the state of the pitch and the kind of pitches we had to play on back in the day. It's the one thing I'm envious about the modern game. I don't know whether you think it as well, is that you look at the quality of the playing surface. There's no excuses anymore, though.
Yeah.
No, there's no leveller. Used to level
It was
it
a
off, didn't it?
quagmire, that pitch, wasn't it? It was unbelievable, that pitch, yeah.
And to hit a ball off that kind of surface that hard and that accurately.
It just bobbled up.
Yeah.
Bobbled up perfectly for him. But it's funny because every time I watch it, obviously you see the goal, you know the goal. It's just the way his shirt seemed like it was small for him. It was flapping at the back of his shorts, his shirt. When his arms seemed so long, Radford's arms. But in respect of a strike, what an unbelievable goal. He used to start every single FA Cup match of the day that I can remember. And I don't know why it stopped.
Wasn't that John Motson's first FA Cup commentary for the
I think
the BBC,
it was a breakthrough moment for John, wasn't it?
Newcastle,
I think he kind of absolutely smashed it. I think he said he was given the main game and he nailed it, as he did so often during his brilliant commentary career.
Yes.
You shouldn't have been surprised at going against Newcastle. Newcastle were they in red shirts that day, Newcastle, if I remember rightly, were they?
I think they were, weren't they? That can't have happened it probably never happened again after that.
Yeah, exactly. Never happened. I don't think that would happen again, no.
Who scored the winner? Ricky George? Ricky George?
Ricky George.
That's the guy.
Yeah, to score the winner and never hardly get a mention. I mean,
no one said, no one mentions it.
That in itself is something else. But what do you think about the playing surface and stuff? Are you envious of the modern game?
Without a doubt, yeah, absolutely. Because one of the things, like I say, with the FA Cup games, when you used to go down there and play a lower level side, is the pitch. And sometimes they made it tough for you because one of the things that you have to have when you go there is a good professional attitude, because they're going to come at you first 25 minutes. The pitch is going to be a bit of a leveller. And you genuinely find out about yourselves and about your teammates, because they make it tough. It's an unbelievable atmosphere. You're getting all the press coming down because you know that they feel, hang on a minute, there's an upset here. And you have to, your attitude has to be absolutely right, because if they, as non-league players or lower league players, sense that you're not quite on it, it gives them more impetus to go forward. And the pitch was a major leveller in that respect.
You knew that you going away to either non-league or lower league team, that you were going to be in for a battle. I mean, a lot of the pitches now all over the country, whether it's first division or second division or non-league, they're damn sight better now than they were then. I
played, funnily enough, at the baseball ground against Burton Albion. They changed their ground because it was a massive game. Burton against Leicester. It's quite local, and it was a bog, obviously, because the baseball ground was one of the famous bogs, wasn't it, back in the day? And I scored a hat-trick, right? We won 5-0. But towards the end of the game, there was a bit of trouble, and a couple of fans ran on the pitch, and there was a bit of a scuffle in the stand, and they cancelled the game, cancelled the result. And they cancelled my hat-trick, Wrighty. Imagine that.
How devastated were you, eh?
We had to play a replay, and I mentioned this because of obviously the circumstances where we are now and the possibility that teams will be playing behind closed doors. And we played behind closed doors at Highfield Road in the replay. We still beat them. We beat them 1-0, but I didn't score. And it's just robbed of a hat-trick, doesn't it? It's not included anywhere. I know you always complain you should have had one more goal, Al, but I should have had a hat-trick.
You should have 3, yeah.
You've got in 8th place, Ian, you've got Ricky Villa. Obviously, this is a cup final. The cup final replay, the first game was drawn 1-1, wasn't it? I think Hutchinson scored and then it got deflected off him. He ran behind the back of the wall, didn't he?
Yes, but the thing is, what I remember about this is that I remember in the first game that he actually got taken off, didn't he? He got walked all the way down the side of the pitch. I remember Ricky Villa's forlorn figure just walking because he was so gutted he'd been taken off. But I really liked FA Cup replays in the night for some reason at Wembley in the night. But this particular goal was one of those where when you was watching it, it was just like one of those moments. It's one of the great moments in the FA Cup because they just couldn't get the ball off of him. And even when he had that step just before he shot, I thought he was going to shoot. He didn't get it. Then he moved again. Then he got the shot, and it was just like it was a magnificent goal.
They played the game on the Saturday, didn't they? And then had the replay at Wembley on the Wednesday or the Thursday evening, wasn't it? And that week, 4 or 5 days later, wasn't it?
And can you remember that when he finally knocked it in, Garth Crooks was on the edge of the box and did a little dummy strike.
With his leg, lifting his leg up, yeah.
Did he? What do you mean?
When you watch Ricky Villa just go to disguise it, Garth Crooks like replicates it at the same time, like on the edge of the box.
There's a dummy kick.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
You have a look, you'll see it. It's very clear.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll look out for that, yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning perhaps for our younger viewers perhaps to say how special an FA Cup final is because of the way the television was. I know you mentioned, Alan, you used to be excited to get up on a Saturday morning. But in those days, and probably why the FA Cup was so special, I mean, it's still special to us and it's still a special trophy, but it's not quite got the magic around it that it used to because it was pretty much the only game we saw on TV, wasn't it, Alan?
Yeah, it was, and that's one of the reasons why we used to get up so early on the Saturday morning. I mean, you used to have the interviews in the team hotels, you used to have the interview with the players and the managers whilst they were having their pre-match meal, and then I remember the cameras following the coaches pulling out of the hotel, follow them all the way to Wembley Stadium. The programme used to start at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and then go on.
It's an FA Cup final knockout and all those kind of nonsense.
That's it, everything leading right up until the kick-off. And I used to get up at stupid o'clock and go and play on the little field outside with all my mates, and then go back in and watch bits of the lead up to the game, and then of course watch the game itself. It was a full day on watching it.
I mean, it's so different to now because you'd have a camera on the team bus going to the game, or you'd be filming them in the hotel the night before. You get players opening their balcony with just leaning out.
Looking over.
Yeah.
I remember Steve Coppell. For some reason, I didn't think he didn't want the camera on the coach. I think it was the last when we played at United in '90. I think it was the last time we were able to drive down Wembley Way. It was amazing. It was. You know, all the fans and everything. It was amazing. Can I just say as well? I remember George Graham. I never spoke to once we got to the final in '93 against Sheffield Wednesday because we had to play them twice that year in the league. And George Graham wouldn't let us have suits. We couldn't have a new suit, so we went to that FA Cup final in the same old Arsenal blazer and trousers we've been wearing all season.
No way.
And
was that a superstitious thing? Or?
No, it was just, I think that what he was trying to do, which in his mind probably worked, was just wanted us to feel like it's just another game. I was absolutely devastated because when I was watching it when I was younger, the suits and maybe going and seeing them get measured up for the suits and seeing them in the suits, seeing everybody in the same suits, that was one of the things that I loved more than anything else. I never spoke to him. Once they made the decision, I never spoke to him for about 5 days. I just kept walking past him, didn't want to talk to him.
Hey, Righty, as you mentioned and hammered my suits, we can't not mention the Liverpool white suits, can we?
White suits.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, but can I just say with the white suits, I didn't have a problem with white suits because it was the FA Cup. It was cool. They had all those nice, cool, young players. Why not look like that? It was I think it was Armani suits or whatever it was.
But it's all right. It's all right wearing a white suit, but you have to go and win the FA Cup if you're wearing a white suit.
Yeah, but Al, it was Cantona's year. It was the year when Cantona won about 7-8 games 1-0, and he finished them off. But I haven't got no problem with them wearing them suits because I thought that it was man. If you're at Wembley, it's a special day. Wear the suits. I can't understand why everybody gives them so much stick, but because you say if you're wearing that suit, like back in the day, if you're wearing white boots, you have to be a good player. If you're wearing white suits, you have to win the game. You have to win the game. But I like the suits. I love the suits.
Right. You've got in 7th Sunderland's win against Liverpool. I suspect Alan's probably got that lower, being Sunderland. But it's not so much the Porterfield goal, is it? It's more probably the greatest ever FA Cup final save and double save at that. But the second one from Lorimer is quite staggering when you look at it again,
I think
we will.
If you listen, if you listen to the commentary, I think the commentator says, and Lorimer scored. He actually says Lorimer scored. That's because he saved the first one. I can't remember who it was from, but then the dive and then he came off his arm. Trevor Cherry came off about here, hit the bar and went out. And I always say, next to Banksy's save in the World Cup, that is one of the greatest saves I've ever seen Jim Montgomery. I was delighted for Sunderland simply because at the time it was Leeds and everybody where I lived at the time in and around Brockley, Leeds were like big. They were the team at the time, and everybody wanted them to win. Remember Leeds had those socks with the numbers under the...
Yes.
Remember those?
Yes.
They had so you roll the socks down, then it had the number on the side here. I always wanted that in the school team. Never happened, but I just remembered that that Sunderland was such underdogs in that game.
Yeah.
Such
Well,
underdogs.
Leeds was so strong back then, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got that, believe it or not, Gary, I've got the higher than Righty.
Oh, really? Oh, right. Well,
Have you?
I have, yeah, only because Jim Montgomery used to coach us when I was a young kid on schoolboy forms at Southampton. We used to go along to Gateshead Stadium, and Jim Montgomery was one of our coaches then when I was a 12 or 13-year-old. So we used to go and head along to there and train 2 or 3 times a week. It's when the old days you could have an academy like Southampton did here in Newcastle, and Jim used to coach us, and I always remember the very first time I met him and sort of shook his hands, and I think, goodness me, the size of your hands are just ridiculous. And he was a great guy, and that's why I've got it higher, because I had a great relationship with him, and only saw him a few weeks ago.
It's a good point, good timing actually. Just to give us your 10 to 6. I know we've not talked about number 6, which is Gazza, but we'll come to Gazza at some point, that's for sure. Give us your 10 to 6, Alan.
My 10 to 6 is I've got Wrexham in 10th, Ronnie Radford in 9. I've got Gazza's free kick in 8, the Palace semi-final in 7, and I've got Sunderland and that Jim Montgomery double save in 6.
Okay, well let's get to...
Wow. Palace in what?
Palace are in 7th.
That's bias,
ridiculous.
That is, Righty. That's bias right there.
We'll talk about that later, Al.
You
and
okay,
then once we get
need
out
to
of all
lie
this,
down?
Once we get out of all this lockdown, we'll have a word in the car park.
Let's talk about Gazza. You've got him in 6, Ian.
Yeah.
Alan, you've got him in. I mean, it was one of the greatest goals ever seen at Wembley, wasn't it? It was a semi-final, of course. The first. It was London Derby. I think it was the first one ever to be played at Wembley, a semi-final. But what we think about that is another thing. But boy, what a goal, wasn't it?
You know the thing with it is that because everything leading into that semi-final, with Arsenal being so dominant, they were brilliant. Everybody fancied Arsenal to win the game. I actually went to the game. My mate Mitchell Thomas, as you know, Mitchell sorted me out and went to the game, and obviously I was there for Rocky and Mickey and all that sort of stuff. But it's the amount of furore around Gazza at the time with everything that was going on. For him to then put the ball down like 35 yards out with Dave Seaman in goal, which I'm telling you, knowing the goalie, there's no way. Like the goalie tells people, he tells them he slipped. He slipped, his studs got caught, because I've never ever seen anyone beat the goalie from that range, even in training.
Ronaldinho?
So when you see but like, that was after. So
Apart from that one.
Shut your mouth. We'll cut all that stuff, what they just said out. Don't worry, goalie, we'll cut that out. If they don't cut it out, it's a pair of mugs anyway. But the fact is that for Gazza, this is what I'm saying, for him to put the ball down and everybody just move away, for him to hit it, just says everything about Paul Gascoigne.
Can I just point something out at this stage, Ian, that might interest you or it might not? When the free kick was given, it was really early in the game. And Gazza, he took a lot of free kicks and he was brilliant at them, but he nearly always bent them. And I remember I ran up to, if you watch it, I'd run up to him and I whispered in his ear, I said, Gazza, don't try and bend it, just it. So he went and he hit and he bent it and he did it and it just flew in the top corner. So I'm taking all the credit. Hadn't
he just come back from a hernia operation as well? Not long before that.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable strike.
He carried us to the cup final. Some of his performances en route. I remember, I think we were at Portsmouth and we were a goal or two down, and he turned it round with. He was staggeringly brilliant at that particular point. I mean, he was a brilliant footballer anyway. But
what about his interviews afterwards, guys? Get the suit. I'm now going to get my suit measured. Because
He
I
was
think
brilliant
with
to have
that-
he was brilliant to have in a dressing room, though, wasn't he?
No, but
Oh, yeah.
Al, the thing is that they said that what happened is that they heard that Arsenal had had their suits. I've already ordered suits, getting their suit. That's what the rumour was, which I know wouldn't have been true. That's Venables just getting them going, because George Graham didn't let us have suits in '93. So why is he going to get suits when we're in the semi-final? It didn't make no sense.
Can you? I mean, you had him on a regular basis every day. We only had him when we come to England. I mean, we had him for 4 or 5 days or 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it was, with England. I mean, and it was great fun. But I can imagine with Gazza having him every single day can be an absolute nightmare.
The things he used to do. I mean, he was so funny and so clever with his pranks and stuff. And some of them I wouldn't share with you, but some of them, I mean, there's so many. In fact, he called me last week, and he was saying, "Oh, I'm loving these shows, etc." And he sounded in great form, so which is good news. And he was telling me, I heard you tell that story a few weeks ago about there was a guy called John that used to come to training,
hanging off at the back
and there was this day. It was a Friday because we were travelling to a match after training. And at the end of training, we came out, and Gazza had bought his dad one of those. It was like a mini winnebago, like a camper van thing, and it had a ladder on the back. And he whenever he got something, whatever it was, whether it was his rifle or he'd like to show it off, and he came in, he said, "Oh, you got to see what I've got, my dad." And anyway, we come out of training, and I saw Gazza, and he was up the ladder, and he got one of these parking cones because there was some roadworks just outside the training ground. And he got the parking cone, and he put it on top of his winnebago. And we thought, well, that's a bit odd. Why has he done that? Anyway, so a few minutes later, Gazza's sitting in the driving seat, and John fella came out, and he says, John, he said, "Someone's put a parking cone on me winnebago. Can you get up on the ladder and get it off?" So the fella, he starts climbing the ladder, and Gazza goes, puts his foot down, goes out the car park, and the fella is hanging on the ladder. And as he tears up the street, and you might think this is not true, but I swear it absolutely is, John, this guy, was horizontal as he flowed up the road, and there was a mini roundabout. He went round it, and he came back. Somehow, he managed to hang on the back of the ladder. And as he parked back into the drive, well, we're all in hysterics. It was the funniest and most scary thing I'd ever seen, I think, because he was absolutely horizontal, holding on. And as he came into the car park, Terry Venables came out, and Terry said, "I don't want to be seeing this, do I?" And he walked straight back into the dressing room. Unbelievable. Go on, Alan.
Some great stories with Gazza. We could go on all day with him, whether he was cutting your socks and sat in the corner of the dressing room waiting for you to put your socks on. You can see his little shoulders go when you pull them right up to your knee because he's cut the end of them off. Or I remember coming out of the restaurant once when we were with England when we used to go and eat, and I said to him, "What's up?" He said, "I wouldn't have the soup." I said, "Why?" He goes, "There's nought in it." I got there and had a look at it. It was consomme soup. That's what. Oh man, it's just fantastic to share a dressing room with.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. Do you know what? There were 2 other goals scored by Tottenham in that game, and I can't remember who scored them.
We didn't want to go there.
We heard them, but they were just 2 spawny goals.
Yeah,
By then the goalie's confidence was gone. I've never seen the goalie get one through his hand.
It was the sheer venom and the ferocity of the shot.
It wasn't sheer effing power. No, it wasn't. I'm so pleased I wasn't playing in that game.
Anyway, right, I think we've pretty much talked. We'll save Palace in for the top 5 because that's where it rightfully is, of course. Right. Alan, give us your 5 to 1, Alan.
I've gone in 5th. I've gone Spurs on that Ricky Villa goal.
Yeah.
4th, I've gone Wigan. In 3, I've gone that Giggs goal, incredible goal. In 2, I've gone the Crazy Gang, Wimbledon beating Liverpool. And in 1, I've gone Steven Gerrard. That incredible strike.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, give us yours as well, Ian.
So in 5, I've gone with Ryan Giggs.
Yeah.
4, I've gone with Gerrard.
Yeah.
3, I've gone with Palace. 2, Wigan, and 1, the Crazy Gang.
Yeah. Now, the first thing that strikes me is that you've both got Wigan in your top 5. It was obviously 2 Premier League clubs. It was a giant kill in the sense that Manchester City were coming into riches. Wigan had kind of come up the leagues, and obviously it was a giant killing. But why so high?
For me, simply because of who they are, Wigan. They're a rugby town. You know what I mean? Yes, Dave Whelan's done brilliantly to get their team to where he got them to. With the players that they had, the manager, he was up and coming. You know what I mean? Everybody... He was very highly thought of. They played some really good stuff. And Manchester City, for me, at the time, were a fantastic team. It was a massive giant killing for me because I think it was a definite David and Goliath story, even though Wigan was in the league. When you consider the Wigan holding them off on that occasion where they've got players who are used to that occasion, City, those kind of big occasions, and holding them off and winning the game, playing how they played, they have to be up there because it is a magnificent achievement for Wigan Football Club.
Yeah. When you look at Wigan that season, because they were relegated that season, they had one of, if not the worst defensive record in the league, and I think they only conceded 2 goals during that FA Cup run that they had that season. I think they were drawn against Bournemouth at home, drew that game in the 3rd round, and then they had to go away to Bournemouth in the replay and win. Then every other game, other than the semi-final, obviously, was away from home for Wigan, and only conceding 2, not conceding against Manchester City in that cup final. In that team against Manchester City, what was it? Aguero, Tevez, David Silva, Company, Yaya Toure, and put that against Wigan, who were relegated. It was an unbelievable achievement.
Yeah, massive.
And what a moment for Ben Watson.
Yes, great goal. Great header.
Coming on and then scoring so soon afterwards. Wow.
You know the thing about that is that it gets to a while where you watch a cup final and you think to yourself, this is going to be no problem. This is going to be a walk in the park. And as the game goes on and on and on, you get more and more, you kind of pull more and more to a Wigan and say, can they hold on? Can they keep it going? Can they get that chance? And when they score, it all changes. And this is what the FA Cup always done for me. Especially if, like any team, like for instance, Al, you mentioned 76 with Bobby Stokes when he scores the goal. It's one of those games where I always kind of went for the underdog. And you watch the game, and then as it goes on and then it happens, you think, this is going to happen. And then bam, it happens. It's what the FA Cup's about.
Yeah, but that's what's so special about the FA Cup. No one talks about Wigan being relegated that season. It's about Wigan winning the FA Cup that season, and it gives hope to all the smaller clubs going in against the big boys. That's what it's about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Crystal Palace, Ian. You've got it in 3rd. Obviously, Alan had it lower, but it's a kind of personal story to you. We talked about this a few weeks ago, didn't we, on match of their day, the FA Cup final. Yeah. But first, because you broke your leg or something, hadn't you? And you missed the semi-final, which was one of the most epic games I can ever remember in the FA Cup.
And you got to understand as well, like going to Palace, and when I got there, by the time I got to Palace and just playing, I'm not even thinking of getting to FA Cup finals or anything like that. We're in the 2nd division, and we're just slowly climbing up the league. In the end, we do it. Brighty comes, we do all that stuff. Bam, we get a great team together. We get into the 1st division, and then we get to Anfield. You know, everybody. We looked at the team sheet. We're playing Anfield. We lose 9-0. It was like, I don't know. Maybe like the Southampton players and fans on their trip back. For me, our trip back from Anfield, and the players thinking about what happened when losing like that.
What was that like,
I don't know.
To lose a game 9-0? What?
I think when it was 7, Gal. Yeah. When it was 7, tears. I just started having tears coming down my face.
Really?
I remember Hansen. Yeah, I did. Yeah. It was humiliating. Yeah. I think we had a penalty at 6-0 and we missed. Jeff Thomas. Yeah. Kind of summed everything up, and it was one of those games where. It's the first time I realised of what I'm up against in respect of top players, top football club, fans, everything about it. We couldn't get near them. I didn't see us doing much wrong. We was trying to get as close as we can. I remember Steve Coppell at half-time said, you guys need to concentrate because this could be embarrassing if you don't concentrate and get yourselves going. I don't know what more we could have done. They were so good. Barnes, McMahon, Steve Nicol scored 2. You know what I mean? They were just... absolutely out of this world. And for Palace to then go through that, I think we drew the next game, maybe against Southampton or someone, I don't know. But then we slowly got our confidence going. So can you imagine what it was like when we drew Liverpool in the semi-finals? I instantly, because our leg was broken, I instantly thought, well, that's it. They're going to beat us. You know what I mean? We're not going to beat them. But like, we started the game. I remember sitting on the bench, and Ian Rush scores really early, and I'm not joking. I was so afraid for the players, so afraid for the fans, because you're thinking, oh my God, is it going to happen again?
Yeah.
And for me, it was
a magnificent game, wasn't
honestly, Gal, honestly, I can't even tell you the emotions I went through in the game, because there was a time where
it worse
we got into the
watching
game
from the sidelines, Ian? Because I watched the semi-final
doubt.
when I was at Everton, and we played at Villa Park against Sheffield Wednesday, and I was injured, and sitting on the sidelines, it's purgatory, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know that if you're fit, you probably would have played.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a situation where I'm thinking as well. Remember, I'm thinking in a selfish kind of way. I don't think I'm going to get to a cup final, because I'm not thinking I'm leaving Palace. I'm not thinking of any. I'm just thinking that it's a one-off chance that you might get to go to an FA Cup final, and I'm injured, and we've got Liverpool. It's like everything just kind of like conspired against Palace, but I don't care what anyone says. John Pemberton, when we came out losing 1-0, we came out second half losing 1-0. I remember I was in the dressing room, and the guys were really pumped. Everyone was pumped. And when John Pemberton came out, and we all came out, he went on this run, which I'd love somebody to have clocked it. And the way it went in the box, and it, bam, 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 John Solako, this happened, blah, 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 and Mark Bright smashed it in. It was like, oh my gosh, we're back in it. Yeah. It was just like, it was fairy tale stuff.
So when you played right, you get beat 9-0. When you don't play, they win the semi-final.
Yes, yeah. But then but then you come off the bench in the final, you nick 2, it kind of justifies it.
Yes, go on, Righty, I love it.
Did you score in the final, Righty? Did you score?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but a lot of people wouldn't have seen that. You came on as a sub in the final, and you looked like you were fuming.
Yeah, but the thing is, Gal, is that, remember, like I said, I can't emphasise enough how important it was for me to play in a cup final. And I remember leading into it, Gal, Steve Coppell set up a few games for me because they wanted to test my leg to see if it was okay. But with the 2 games that I had previous to the last one I had to play in, I was jumping out of things. I wasn't going into stuff. I wasn't really committing myself because I only had 2 weeks before the final. And I remember after the second game when I was going through it, I hardly done anything. Anybody came near me, I was like jumping. And I remember he pulled me after the game because it was a training ground game. And he said, listen, if I'm going to put on one more game in the last week, it was the Tuesday or something of the week leading in, he said, I'm going to put that game on, and if you play like you've played in the last 2, you're not even going to be on the bench. And to be honest, when he said that to me after that game, I was just like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say to you, Bill, because like the FA Cup is my whole world. And if I only played in that FA Cup and never done anything else after that, I'd have been happy with that.
Wow.
Especially at Palace. So in this game, the last one he set up, literally just went for it. Flying into tackles, just went in. And then I thought, yes, I'm in. And he said, you're going to be on the bench. So that is where the vexness came from. That's where the anger, when you see me come on, it's like 70 minutes with 2-1 down. And I'm thinking, geez, the FA Cup's going. Am I even going to get to play? Christ, man. So I started to dagger Steve Coppell with my eyes. Like,
did you do that one? The old little few stretches in front of him and all that. Little...
You know, when you're doing that stuff, and you're going, you know, all that stuff. And then if you look at it, if they show it, I was warming up just to the side of him, stretching like this. But the thing with it is, Gal, is that trying to catch his eye, yeah. And I remember I'd done it with Arsene Wenger when in the Newcastle one, but he blanked me. But the fact is with this one, when he did put me on, I remember Steve, like Phil Barber, dear Fizzer Barbs. Phil Barber's coming off, and I was thinking, come on, Phil, come. I say, well done, Barbs, well done. And I just remember saying, I was so angry. I said, when I get on there, as soon as I don't care where I am on the pitch, I'm getting it out my feet, I'm shooting. Because I just always wanted to score. I always wanted to score in those Wembley goals. The Wembley goals, the same goals that we won the World Cup in. And then, 3 minutes, couldn't believe it. It was just like, even when I think of it now, it makes me feel like I'm going to cry simply because my whole life was leading to this moment. I think in one of the interviews before, I said, "This is I was born for this day. This is the day. This is why I was so excited not playing." And so when the goalie kicks it, I think Richard Shaw and McClare go bam. Brian McClare go bam. It kind of ricochets out to Mark Brighton, and he just played it. Now all I remember is, okay, I've got to get past McPhelan, and then when I get past McPhelan, I've got to get this out of my feet because I want to shoot. And as I get it past McPhelan, and then I see Gary Palliser, and you just see in your peripheral vision, someone just coming really quick, and I just felt he's going miles too quick to stop with the lever, and I just cut it straight away, and then he just went timber away, and then all I remember, Gal, is like seeing a lot of goal over there. So it doesn't even register to me that I'm in the FA Cup final. All I'm seeing is goal just coming through. And then I just said, let me just aim it there. And I still didn't think I'd done it enough, but I got it under Jim Leighton, and it went in. And then from there, I had an explosion of adrenaline that I couldn't believe. The face was contorted with emotion. I went to the ground, and the only thing that kind of snapped me out of it, guys, was I don't like being bundled. So I started screaming
big
while I was at the bottom of all of them. Then when they got off, I was like, oh. Then you can hear the crowd. Then you look around. You realise you're at Wembley. It was like, it was the dream. It was the dream come true thing. That was it. Yeah. That was the dream. What I just done there.
Were you watching that game, Alan?
Can't remember it at all. No.
You shut your mouth, man. You're out of order. Just spilt that was my life on the line there, right? You're out of order not watching. Yes, you did. Yeah. He was watching and he was jealous of me.
Absolutely, of course.
And then you must have thought you'd won it for Palace when you scored another one.
You know, the thing is as well, guys, is that I always say, there was one stage that Nigel Martin was genuinely looking for me to cause me problems, because as any interview I'd done, I said, yeah, if it weren't for Gary O'Reilly and Nigel Martin, we win. We win that game. It was only 7 minutes. It's so difficult to take. Yeah. 7 minutes.
For being a hero.
It's not even that, but for Palace, I believe that team, we came up together from 85. He built the team. He got Jeff Thomas in, got Andy Gray back because he left and went to Villa, came back. You know, Mark Bright came, John Pemberton. You know what I mean? We got the Alan Pardew in the midfield who turned into Super Al, because leading into that FA Cup semi-final, Alan was getting booed by Palace fans on a regular basis. He turned into Super Al after that. Oh. And he had a magnificent game in the final as well. Yeah. Magnificent game in the final. So that team deserved something. That is why it was so difficult to take when we didn't win that final, because that team and the way Steve Coppell built it, we deserved to win something because we were fantastic. We finished third in the league, and because we weren't allowed in Europe, obviously Palace couldn't get into Europe, and we finished third in the first division. So that team deserved something. So it was a shame. It was a shame the way that panned out.
But it was a magnificent final. It was a shame it didn't have a winner on the day, because as is so often the case when you get such a good game, the actual replay in it was a bit of a damp squib, wasn't it? Right.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Alan, Ryan Giggs, you've got him in third, right? He's got him in fifth.
Yeah.
One of the great FA Cup goals, that's for sure.
Oh, it's, if there's one person on the pitch you don't want to make a poor pass to like Vieira, it was Ryan Giggs, wasn't it? Because he picked the ball up, and that was him. That was Ryan, wasn't it? The way he went and glided past. There was so much to do from when he picked that ball up, and so much distance to go to get to the goal. Players to go past. The ability to do that, and then the ability to finish it off was just incredible. And I can remember his shirt came off and his hairy chest, and that was it. It was just an incredible goal. Yeah.
You know the thing when I look at it, Al and Gal, is that when he picked it up, he's halfway in his half.
Yeah. And
what you don't want Ryan Giggs to get momentum, like you say, Al. So I don't think anyone engages him for 20 yards. Yeah. He goes from halfway in his half to halfway in our half, and he's now in full Ryan Giggs flowing mode. And then, once he got in there, Dicko and Martin, and then what he done, which was like fantastic, is roofed it. which you have to do when you're on the near post. You can't hit it low. He roofed it and it went, and I've just thought, it is easily one of the greatest goals in FA Cup.
Once Patrick gives that ball away to him, Patrick actually tries to get back to him, doesn't he, when some 15 or 20 yards inside his own half. And bearing in mind, we're talking about an incredible back four here in Arsenal with Lee Dixon and Keown, Tony Adams, and then one of the best goalkeepers around, as we said a few weeks ago, in David Seaman. So when you put all that together, where he's picked the ball up, where the ball's ended, it's incredible.
Yeah. And they missed a penalty before that, didn't they? Schmeichel saved a penalty.
Yeah. But this was the year. This is the year. And remember, Giggs was substituting this game. He came off the bench in this game, Ryan Giggs. And this was the year where why this '99 Man United team will always, for me, be one of the greatest ever. And I think I did vote for them to be the greatest because they refused to lose. They refused to lose, and they had players at opportune moments that came on and done stuff like that. Yeah. Remember, Roy Keane got sent off in that game, guys. Roy Keane got sent off in that game. And if I'm going to put money on someone scoring a penalty in a big game, I'm probably going to put it on Dennis Bergkamp. Yeah. But Peter Schmeichel, who I think I heard Ryan Giggs mention, he didn't save many penalties. But again, big game, big moment, the big players come to the fore, and that's what they've done. So it didn't surprise me they went on to do what they'd done in '99. They refused to lose that team. They're a magnificent side.
Who did they play in the final?
Newcastle.
That was it.
Newcastle. Yeah. Was it Newcastle, Al?
What's that? You went off, guys. Sorry.
That was really good. I genuinely thought we went off. Brilliant acting, Shearer.
Tell us about the final, though. Seriously, Alan, you're playing against Manchester United. It was the treble winning side, of course, of Manchester United, and you were massive underdogs on the day.
Yeah, we'd fully expected to go there and win. Our fans did exactly the same. We just didn't. We didn't turn up. What I do remember is after the game we go back to the hotel, and we have a debrief with the manager Ruud Gullit, and you can imagine everyone's so disappointed. And we're in there, and Ruud walks in and says, "Well, that's a new experience for me." And we sort of look around and he goes, "I'm not used to losing finals."
Wow, is that what he said?
Which didn't go down too well with the players. Absolutely true, but didn't go down too well with the players. But it was their year. It was just their year.
Yeah, everything went for them from that Giggs moment onwards, didn't it? And even the Champions League final, where, to be honest, for about 91 minutes they were outplayed, weren't they?
They were hammered. Yeah, got hammered in that game.
But it's all about the final scoreline, isn't it? That's for sure. Right, where should we go? Because you've got conflicting number ones. Let's go with the crazy gang first. Wimbledon beating Liverpool at Wembley. They were obviously massive underdogs. They used to play their own style, hence being called the crazy gang. Personally, I had no time for them. I didn't want them to beat Liverpool. I didn't enjoy playing against them. I didn't like their manner. I didn't like their silly verbals. But that's a personal point of view. I've been watching the Michael Jordan, The Last Dance recently. I don't know whether you've seen it, but it's magnificent. And in that, there was a Detroit Pistons he was talking about. I think they were kind of a similar thing.
Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Isaiah,
I have
just
to
nasty,
say,
just horrible.
He doesn't like them to this day. I don't like them, but I do recognise what they did was incredible.
You know something? I remember, Al, like, you see when they used to come to Highbury, I don't know if they'd done it on purpose, but what got your back up when you played against Wimbledon more than anything else was they were all dressed in different gear. Some would have a tracksuit on, one would have a suit on, one would have jeans on, some would come in with a T-shirt, big hats, and they come in massive, like, ghetto blaster. They mess around with our flaming, our guy on the front, the commissioner with his hat, take his hat off of him, and, like, just upset you straight off right off the bat. And when they came, they always caused us problems at Highbury. And I remember one time, Vinnie Jones, I think Tony was injured, and Vinnie Jones was in the tunnel, and he went, "Come on, you lot, these are nothing without Adams."
They were horrible, weren't they?
As time's gone on, I've learned to respect them because they got the best out of what they were capable of doing. They done the very best they could do. They drained every single thing out. And why I put them at number one is because if we're going to try and find a game that is like David and Goliath, you're not going to get any bigger than Liverpool at the time, 88 in the 80s, when they were dominant and magnificent, and Wimbledon. And with the players that Liverpool had and what Wimbledon had, there is no way that anyone would have given Wimbledon a chance apart from Wimbledon.
Do you know what I think epitomised that final? I think it was after about 30 seconds when Vinnie Jones went in to tackle, I think it was Steve McMahon, after 30 seconds. And he went in, absolutely smashed him. He sent him 6 foot in the air. And
straight red now, wouldn't it?
You know, that without a doubt, that's a red card, and that's what Wimbledon were all about. They wanted to upset the opposition in any way they could, whether they went in the dressing room beforehand and wrecked the dressing room, whether it was verbally abusing you in the tunnel beforehand, or whether it was smashing into you in a crunching tackle like Vinny did after 30 seconds. That was their way. They were going to upset Liverpool, and they did.
I played against them. I played against them away from home once, and it was the last season at Tottenham. And Peter Shreves was in charge at Tottenham because Terry Venables had gone upstairs. And Shreves was great, great coach, lovely guy. Wasn't really a number one, but and we played there, and I think we were about 3 or 4 down at half time. We weren't at it because you know what it's like, if you're not quite at it against them, they're just like smash you up.
You're finished.
And we walked in and we're all like, and I'm thinking, Christ, surely he's going to give us a real bollock in here. And I'll never forget it. He just looked around at the boys and he had this kind of like slightly squeaky Cockney voice, and he went, "Yeah, well, boys, we don't appear to be all singing from the same song sheet." And that was it. And then I think the season before that, though, we'd played them and we beat them 5-3. And you know, they used to shout that, "Put it in a mixer," Fashioner and Vinny and all that. "Put it in a mixer." Yeah. And I remember I got brave because I'd just scored my 4th and we beat them 5-3. And I'm running back to the halfway line, and you can see them all. And I just went, "Where's your mixer now, boys?" And then I ran away.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the two teams, very much like we mentioned Wigan, Man City a couple of minutes ago. When you look at the two teams here, Liverpool, Wimbledon, I mean, Steve Nicol, Aaron Hansen, Barnes, Beardsley, Aldridge. There is no way that Fashioner, Wise, Cork, Young, and Vinnie Jones should be anywhere near that Liverpool team. But they found a way to win, and that's why it's right up that in number 2 for me.
I have to mention Andy Thorne. I remember Andy Thorne came to Palace. And he wasn't the quickest in that, but I don't care what anyone says. He's easily one of the best centre-halves ever in respect of reading the game. No one could get by. He played in that game as well. Yeah. Andy Thorne was brilliant in that game. Brilliant. I love you, Andy Thorne.
Okay. Steven Gerrard. What a game that was, wasn't it? West Ham, Liverpool. I mean, West Ham must have thought they'd won it. One of the great cup final moments in the very dying seconds, and he's got cramp and everything just before it.
Jesus. I saw something, an interview of him the other day, where he mentioned that the last one he scored, because the one he scored, I think might have been the equaliser. It was the equaliser, in fact. He hit it so pure in the box. And again, when it comes down to the top players, when it's on the line, we saw him do it against Olympiacos as well. When it's on the line, the top players who've got this natural ability, because they're so good and the basics come very naturally to them. He hit that ball so cleanly, and he said, "I was out of it. I had nothing left." I said, probably if I felt like I could, I would have probably controlled the ball, played it out, and done a bit. He said, "I just thought I'm just going to hit it." He said, "I would never hit one as clean as that as well."
That's why I've got it in number 1. I just think that sort of epitomises everything that is Steven Gerrard. 2-0 down in the game. Then they get to 2-1. Then he scores to make it 2-2. And the game's gone. The game is gone, and it needs something ridiculous to claw it back. And that ball fell to him, and I remember his interview and him saying, because he was absolutely knackered. That's the reason why he hit it first time. And I mean, he caught it so sweet. He said if he wasn't that tired and it was early, he might have took a touch, took it on a little bit further. But the technique and to get that power, that accuracy in that 91st or 92nd minute, and to drag his team back to win it. Then in the penalty, he goes and scores a penalty in the shootout as well, doesn't he? So I mean, for him to not only score the goals, but then to go and score in the shootout as well, I just think that was Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, certainly the Steven Gerrard final.
To be honest, it's like it's so tough. You know what? I would never ever get over the fact that we had two managers in Sven-Göran Eriksson and Capello that couldn't do something with Gerrard, Lampard and Scholes. It's something for me that I will always be aggrieved about, especially when I know a lot of people will make kibosh it and say, well, you're out of order mentioning it. Glenn Hoddle should have been managing those three. If he managed those three, we do something. We do something. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Or Terry Venables
because
or someone like
Stevie
that.
Gerrard, exactly. Because you can't tell me, Stevie Gerrard is easily one of the greatest midfielders we've ever produced on these English shores.
So is Paul Scholes and so is Frank Lampard.
So is and Frank Lampard. So those three, when you look at what Spain were able to do with Xabi Alonso, Xavi, and Iniesta, you know, now I am not saying that our three are as good as them. I'm just saying when you've got three players of that caliber, because when you mention Xabi Alonso mentioned, I've heard Xabi Alonso mention Gerrard. I've heard Xavi mention Scholes. I've heard like Iniesta mention Lampard. The respect. We have three players like that.
Yeah, I know.
And we don't win anything.
Well, he kept playing that rigid 4-4-2,
Michael Owen up
didn't
front.
he?
That rigid.
With either Scholes on the left, Gerrard on the... And then people said, well, Lampard and Gerrard can't play together. Of course they can if they played a system.
And we have Ferdinand and Terry at the back.
Ashley Cole.
What more do you need?
Rooney.
Ashley Cole. I feel like I'm living a parallel universe. Did we really have those players?
We won nothing.
Ridiculous.
I know.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Sorry,
He was a very special.
I'm sorry we couldn't get you the
player.
manager.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold now, the way he whips those balls in. Gerrard did exactly the same as well.
Yeah.
With those with free kicks or whenever he's out wide, or the way he just fizzed that ball in, pinged that ball into the box or into the forwards. Yeah, he was a top player.
Okay, as we do at this point, read out your top tens, starting back to front with you, Ian.
Okay, 10 Wrexham, 9 Radford, 8 Spurs 81, 7 Sunderland, 6 Gazza, 5 Giggs, 4 Gerrard, 3 Palace, 2 Wigan and 1 the Crazy Gang.
I've gone 10 Wrexham, 9 Radford, 8 Gazza free kick, 7 Palace, 6 Sunderland, Jim Montgomery, 5 Spurs, Ricky Villa, 4 Wigan, 3 Ryan Giggs goal, 2 the Crazy Gang, Wimbledon, and number 1 Steven Gerrard. Okay,
as is such, when you disagree with the number 1, it falls to me to decide. And finally, revenge for all those nasty tackles over many years of the Crazy Gang. I'm going to give it to Steven Gerrard. A little bit of revenge there.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
I suppose that is our top 10 on... I think we can all agree, can't we, that the FA Cup is not quite the same today as it used to be. It's still, it's still a special thing.
Not to me, G.
Yeah. No, it is still special to us, but the younger generation, it doesn't have the significance. The Champions League's huge now, much more than it was in our day. So for obvious circumstances, it's not the only circus in town anymore, is it? It used to be when we grew up. It's not the case now. Is there anything we can do to perhaps spice it up to get the magic back, as it were?
I don't know. I don't know.
Or do we just accept it for what it is? It's a glorious thing to win. It's a great day out. It's still an important domestic trophy, and that's enough.
You know something? The thing for me is that when you listen to Al there, and when Al said about coming back from injury and playing against, who was it, Al? Lower league team? Stevenage. So you got Alan Shearer, record goal scorer, play for England. The managers pick him to play against Stevenage.
Yeah.
That's what it meant in those days. Nowadays, a manager's not. He's using the FA Cup to rest people. He's using the FA Cup to blood people.
Yeah.
when I was young, the FA Cup meant the world to me. It meant the whole world. It doesn't mean the same to the managers now with the pressure that they're under to stay in the Premier League, to try and get up the Premier League, to get into the top 4. It doesn't mean the same. I don't think that we can do anything.
Yeah, when you look at, I think you're right in terms of the Premier League, in terms of the Champions League as well, the importance of staying in that league and the importance of progressing in the Champions League because of the finance. You are seeing it a lot more on a regular basis now that teams are changing their complete 11. Even teams in the Championship and League One are leaving 7 and 8 players or resting 7 or 8 players, where you would never have seen that many years ago.
I guess it's something we'll just have to accept. Anyway, it's given us lots of magical moments over the years. That is our top 10. Guys, thank you very much, as always, for taking part. And don't forget, if you at home have your own top 10 magic moments, then please list them on the BBC Sport website, and we'll happily look at them for you. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
When the world gets you down, music can help you through. In 2017, my life took a bit of a bad turn, and the way I coped was by listening to as many records from the previous year as I could. I'm James Acaster, and I believe that 2016 is the greatest year for music ever.
I've been listening to it backwards.
Backwards?
I've been listening to it backwards.
So on my podcast, me and my comedian friends will discuss my favourite albums of that year, in order to convince every single one of you too.
That's a classic album right there.
James Acaster's Perfect Sounds.
Listen now on BBC Sounds.